Okay, the star of the weekend was Houston Roughnecks quarterback Philip Walker. I believe everybody would agree he is the most fun player to watch in the XFL. I loved it. Houston beat LA 37-17, and PJ Walker was 23 of 39 passing for 272 yards, 4 touchdowns. He did have 1 interception, but he also ran the ball 4 times for 26 yards. Now, the runs from PJ Walker that I most remember are not the ones where he got yards. There were multiple times where he avoided a sack and ran around, kept his eyes downfield, and threw the ball for a big gain. There's one that is ingrained in my memory where Philip Walker, Philip or PJ, depending on how you want to call his first name, he avoids a sack, he runs around, he's running to the left, flips his hips, throws the ball downfield into the end zone for a touchdown. And I was like, man, that is so awesome. So much fun to watch. Now, PJ Walker had a 59% completion percentage. A lot of people that are stats nerds will go, well, PJ Walker, push up their glasses. PJ Walker he only had a 59% completion percentage. He didn't complete a lot of passes. Shut up. Get out of here. You don't understand the game of football. PJ Walker's offense in Houston with June Jones is an offense that just encourages taking chances downfield. Against man coverage, throw the ball vertically. The Houston Roughnecks were throwing the ball downfield constantly, taking chances. Yes, it did result in a lot of incompletions, but it wasn't bad. It was PJ Walker was executing the offense, throwing the ball vertically against man coverage, taking chances downfield. That's not a bad thing. That's him running the offense the way it's supposed to be designed. Now, I think a lot of people watch PJ Walker and see an NFL quarterback. People go, he's 24 years old. He can run. He's putting up big numbers, throwing the ball. And you look at the dude, and I watch PJ Walker. I go, man, he's making some great throws out there. His best throw was on a 3rd and 9 down the middle of the field to Nick Holley into tight coverage, just a dime down the middle of the field. It was the best throw I saw all weekend. But what people don't understand is that the XFL game is a little bit slower than the NFL. Not by a lot slower, but a little bit slower, meaning that defenses are more forgiving in the XFL than in the NFL. Quarterbacks can be a tad bit late and still complete a pass. Receivers are more wide open than normal. Being a quarterback and being a good quarterback, being even the best quarterback in the XFL, which I think PJ Walker is, does not mean he'll immediately be an NFL starter come next year. He's good in the XFL, where guys are more wide open. You can be a little bit slower. Things aren't quite as quick. He's dominating the XFL. That's a great sign. You should dominate the XFL. But there were still a couple moments where PJ Walker got away with a throw into tight coverage, or he was a little bit late, and it shouldn't have been caught, but it was. Or, there was a play in the red zone where he did throw an interception, and I went, it's not really great. So, I loved watching PJ Walker, but understand, dominating in the XFL does not necessarily mean you're a future NFL franchise quarterback. Now, I want to give a ton of credit to the Houston Roughnecks head coach, June Jones. So the quarterback battle in Houston lasted for a really long time, and it came down to either Connor Cook, the former Michigan State quarterback, or PJ Walker. And the big difference between the two quarterbacks that Houston had to decide between was mobility. PJ Walker is a dynamic athlete at quarterback, while Connor Cook is a more standard pocket passer with limited mobility. He cannot run around. And Houston decided to play the dynamic athlete at quarterback, and it paid off big time. I loved it. It was awesome. And take note of that. There are some teams in the XFL that did not lean into having a dynamic athlete at quarterback, and it cost them. So credit Houston. They were willing to say, you know what, we're going to play this guy, Philip Walker, who we haven't been able to see him run around. In practice, you can't really tell how mobile a quarterback is. You assume they are, but because quarterbacks aren't live, you're not seeing a guy break tackles. You're not seeing a guy avoid a sack. But they took a chance saying, we like PJ Walker, and we know there's an element to his game that's undefinable we haven't seen yet. We're going to go with him rather than, at least from my perspective, the more boring Connor Cook, who has no ability to escape a sack, not a dynamic athlete, can't move around. Really big credit to Houston great job leaning into a dynamic quarterback. I thought it was a great move, and it really paid off for Houston. Now, one final thought. One of Houston's best receivers is Nick Holley. He had 4 catches for 50 yards this weekend, and he's a tough cat. He made some really good catches into tight windows where there were guys all around him in traffic. He still hung on to the ball. He made a catch on the goal line. I went, wow, it's a big-time catch. And Nick Holley is a really, really cool story. He played college football at Kent State. And, he played all over the field. In his 5 seasons at Kent State, he played, 5 years in college. Year 1 and 2, he played receiver. Year 3 and 4, he played running back. And then year 5, Nick Holley played quarterback. He did it all. It's pretty crazy and pretty wild to me. I'm like, wow, Nick Holley is just a jack of all trades. You can put him anywhere, and he's just a guy who loves football. And it really came clear to me in an interview. He talked about his past. If you don't understand Nick Holley, he has struggled with injuries for years. He had 3 years in a row where he had a season-ending injury. He had basically 3 torn ACLs. He also broke his back at one point. And so he gave one of my favorite interviews of the entire weekend where he was talking about, why the interviewer asked him, why are you still here? Why are you still playing football after all the torn ACLs, after the broken back? And Nick Holley just said, man, I love football. I love playing the game of football. And I was watching, and there was a moment where I didn't cry, but it had like that your cheeks kind of well up and you go, oh, I'm not going to cry, but I'm really close. It was that moment where I went, man, this is beautiful. To me, there's nothing better than a guy doing something because it's what they love. Do what you love. And Nick Holley's doing what he loves, playing playing professional football, playing the game of football, period. And to me, man, that's so awesome. There's nothing I appreciate more than stories like Nick Holley where a guy really is going after it, chasing his dream, doing what he loves. And to me, it was one of my favorite stories of the weekend, hearing that interview, hearing Nick Holley talk about his journey, and hearing Nick Holley talk about how much he loves the game of football.